welcome back to Just One Question, springtime edition. And the weather is finally warming up here in Boston. Not that I would know, because I never go outside anymore, except to the grocery store. But that's all going to change. And to help ring in that change, I am really thrilled to have somebody who can stop my tears up and get me laughing. No pressure, though. Jenn Lederer. She is a comedian based in New York City, the toughest place of all for comedians, so she must be good. She's the creative director of something called the JLP Community, and if you get a second, tell us about that. Oh, wait, it says here, it's an online community for artists and entrepreneurs. How cool. And she's a self-proclaimed shapeshifter. And I'd love to know what that means. And she's been featured on SiriusXM, Forbes.com, the Huffington Post, Inspiring Lives magazine, on stages at YALE and Google Headquarters and comedy clubs throughout New York City. And if that isn't cool enough, she goes all over the country performing virtually, as well as the distant and fond memories of in-person performance. And she leads workshops and keynotes to help get the laughter going. To achieve a breakthrough in understanding. And remember, your inner critic is the only critical voice worth listening to. I love that. Welcome, Jenn. Please tell us how you are, and thanks for being on Just One Question.
Hey, thanks, Nick. So real quick, the inner critic is not the only voice that you need to listen to.
Oh, I thought that was strange. Is that a typo? I was just reading what I was supposed to read. Or was it a joke? Which is it?
It must be a
it's what
typo.
it says here. It says,
Okay. I set you up.
The inner critic is the only inner voice worth listening to. And I've been taught that just undid 50 years of therapy for me, because I always thought you weren't supposed to listen to your inner voice. But
that's right. So,
I mean, read it.
As a comic, I do like to tap into the critic. She's a great writer.
Yeah. Great
observer of all things in the world. How am I doing? I am anxious on the good side of anxiety, finally. I'm really ready to get back out into the world. The weather is getting better. I want to go, for more walks, see more humans.
Humans. I remember them. Yeah. Humans.
Remember?
Yeah.
We have things below just right here. We have these legs that can take us places when there's places to go. So I'm anxious and excited for that to be a reality again.
You and me both. So yes, let's hope that is sooner rather than later. Well, I did have just one question for you, in spite of the fact that I've already asked you one. I've got one more. And that is, we are indeed seeing hope, seeing a future, seeing maybe a better spring. Maybe it's a better summer. Please, it's not a better fall. We have to wait that long, but however long it is, we are finally going to come back to something approaching normal life, whatever that means. But we're going to be changed. We know that. We have been changed already. This year has been an extraordinary one for all of humanity, let alone for performers and speakers and people like you and me. So my question to you is just one question. How are we going to be different? And you can answer that in any way you choose. You can go for the personal answer or the profound answer. You can tell us all about society. How are we going to be different when we do come back?
How are we going to be different? Yeah, I think the answers are already in the now. This question of what's going to happen out there is a mirage in and of itself, because it's only ever now. And our perspective on the world shifted in an instant. For me, March 13th, 2020, the last time I was out, and this veil was lifted, the veil of security, of consistency, of the things we swore we would have put money on. The things that happened in this last year could have never happened, especially not all at once. And yet they did. And so I think a lot of us have had the experience of anything can happen. The sense of security that I thought I had in my full-time job, in my entrepreneurship, in having a stage to get onto, having places to go, those all went away. So I think what has changed is our perspective. What waits for us, quote, out there is, can you remember? Can you remember what you learned during this time? What you found was important? What you found was no longer a priority? You know, I hear so many people talking about the permission they have felt for not having to go to all the things, to not have to RSVP, to not have to make up an excuse to not go. You were just, there was so much permission to just check in with yourself and go with that. And I hope the majority of us choose to remember that, because the world that waits is the product of the seeds that we plant right now. And it's a collective, you know, choice. So if the majority of us choose to remember, choose new priorities, we will shift the paradigm in that direction. If the majority of us go back to, quote, normalcy, even though most people, when they describe normalcy to me, was overwhelmed, overworked, overrun, disconnected. Okay, you want to go back to that? Cool. Not me. Not most of the people that I talk to. So, you know, how has your perspective of the world changed? That's what defines your world. And, you know, I see people that with the masks, some people can't wait to never have to do that on their face ever again. Other people, it's like, oh, I love that I can just wear a mask on a plane the next time I go. No one's going to judge me. No one's going to ask any questions. It's this sense of permission that has come because everything got taken away. Everything we thought were the rules, were the consistencies that cannot change, they got taken away. And when those things get taken away, the only place we have left to turn is inward. And I think it's so cool that we have lived through this. I'm doubtful that many of us will choose to remember a year from now, 6 months from now, definitely 5 years from now. I wonder how much of this sensation that we have with all the veils that have been lifted, will we remember? Or will we go back to being asleep and just doing the status quo and letting the, quote, outside world define our perspective of it instead of the other way around?
That's phenomenal. That I find that really insightful, and because the human urge to find an equilibrium after all these kind of swings is very strong, and of course there's a built-up desire to reclaim whatever we felt was lost. But I love your idea of a newfound sense of freedom and permission to adopt a new way. And I'm with you. So if you decide to run for mayor, just let me know. Yeah, and I'm on board. You have my vote because
I have a vote from Boston for New York.
You got a vote from Boston, yeah. Which
valid.
Yeah, well, we'll make it work somehow. Anyway, I love the idea that maybe we could retain some of these things because we have become a little more human, even amidst all the anxiety and all the hardship and all the death too. So yeah, good stuff from your mouth to God's ear. Thank you, Jenn Lederer.
Thanks, Nick.